Am I the arsehole for not giving up my baby's name for my sister's sake? Throwaway account. My half-sister Dee, 40, and I, 27 female, found out we were both expecting baby girls earlier this year. My due date is in a couple weeks and hers was in July. We were never close, mostly because of the age gap and personality differences. I was shy and an introvert and she was always a show-off and needed to be the center of attention at all times. She announced her pregnancy 4 years ago at my wedding. She has 3 children, 12, 7, 3, already, and this will be my first. We shared a paternal grandma who we both loved more than anything. She died when I was in high school and we were both devastated. At that time I told my family I would name my future daughter after my granny. Forward to this week, my sister found out at her checkup that her baby has died in utero. Our whole family was devastated. While I couldn't be with her physically, we have been speaking on the phone and video chatting every day. 2 days, we were discussing the process she has to undergo and names for the gravesite came up. She told me that she was using our granny's name. I gently reminded her that my husband and I had picked the name for our daughter years ago and that we have loads of customized baby gear with her name. She started crying before telling her mom to talk to me. After arguing back and forward with her mom, I just snapped. I told her Dee would be wasting the name. The namesake will not be getting carried on and loved. She immediately started screaming and called me a horrible person and saying I am going to be a horrible mother. I started crying and my husband started yelling back at her through the phone before hanging up in her face. My husband is pissed at this point because we have had our baby name choices picked out since we got engaged. I have been ignoring Dee and her mother's calls and video requests all day. Our dad ended up texting me to please let Dee have the name because she will not have her child, but I will. I told him that she has had a daughter and had her chance to use the name with my 7-year-old niece. At this point, I don't know if I am being an asshole. And #X200B. ETA. I didn't expect this post to get so much attention. I was just feeling kind of iffy about myself last night. To clear it up, both of using the same name is not a possibility. I think Dee and I both would agree on that, and she never mentioned the name being on her possible name list, or this situation would have been discussed before it got to this moment. After talking about it more with my husband, we decided to keep our daughter's name as is because we feel like it is her name. We have dedicated ourselves to the name. I am one of the annoying people who chose my baby names before my wedding, and we announced her full name at our gender reveal. If Dee go forward at using the name, we will go NC with her and her family because she put us in a hard place. We don't want our daughter born with automatic grief attached to her name and people assuming we are being intentionally cruel and morbid. And while I know my child might be compared to another child whose life was cut short, she doesn't need her name to be a point of contention in the family. Forgot to add, I did text my dad to ask him if he would ask Dee to go with the nickname form of the name or use the name as a middle name. While I do object to Dee's decision, my word choice was inappropriate and hurtful. I did send Dee, her husband, and her mother apology text messages. I didn't call because I don't want to argue. I will try to talk to her in person after I have my daughter because, as some of you stated, anger is easier than grief. I get that, but I am not in a place to be an emotional punching bag. I have to be safe for my own child's sake, and while my grief is nothing compared to hers, I do grieve for my niece too because it's unfair that stuff like this happens. I don't get why you can't both use the name. NTA based on the fact that you announced the baby name far in advance. She announced a baby at your wedding, and this is her 3rd child, and she only now decided to name them after a dead relative says to me this is also another grab for attention. Yeah, family members can have the same name, but having the same name as a living cousin is not the same as having your name be the name on a recently deceased cousin's gravestone and having to live with the weight of that constantly hanging over your head. Also, I don't care if it's harsh. Giving the name of a deceased loved one to another already deceased loved one literally isn't carrying on the name. It's at best using it as a tool to grieve, and grief is not an excuse to screw over other family members. Everyone sucks here. Why can't you both use the name? You are slightly tar. I get how you're feeling. I agree that you should keep the name, but you lost me when telling a woman that has lost her baby that she would be wasting the name. There are other arguments to be made that aren't so mean. I was all prepared for a not the asshole, until you told a grieving mother that she would be wasting the name. That was an extremely asshole move, and you could have made your point without making her grief worse. So you are the asshole. Not the asshole. It's kind of ridiculous that your half-sister would even consider this after knowing for years you planned on naming your first daughter after your grandmother. No one owns a name. It means a lot to you, you can use it. It means a lot to her, she can use it. Neither of you have the right to dictate how the other names their children. Saying she was wasting the name was definitely an asshole move, as is them not laying off you about it. Not the asshole. The name was chosen years ago. They knew that you chose the name. She had the opportunity to use it but didn't until she knew that you would. The comment about wasting the name was a bit arseholeish, but regardless, you had chosen it before she did. They need to stop harassing you about it. Not the asshole. I feel she did this on purpose, the name thing, and it sounds like she likes to be the center of attention. She announced one of her pregnancies at your wedding. She is trying to steal the baby name you had picked out for years. She wants to use your baby name for her dead baby because I still don't know. She had a daughter already. She could have done it then if it's such a big deal to her. I feel like she wouldn't want the namesake if you hadn't said anything, because she has known for years and she's planned to be an asshole for years. Just because her kid died doesn't mean she isn't an asshole. Woman shrugging, medium skin tone. So, a lot of the responses ask why you can't use both, and I'd just like to point out that typically, or at least from what I've seen here on Reddit, is that if someone has the same name in the family as a deceased child, the living child will be constantly compared to the one who's no longer here. Granted, these women are half-siblings, but I don't put it past Dee Dee one bit to constantly compare OP's kid to her dead one. Not the asshole. As you said earlier, you already picked up the name even before the baby was born. You did have dibs on the name, but that response was not warranted. You should still be able to use the name, but wasting the name was highly insensitive. Not the asshole. Holy, this is a tough situation. Ask her if she would be willing to use your grandmother's name as a middle name. You have committed to using this name. She was aware of this and she just wants to make you miserable too. I still think you should name your child this name though. People don't own names. I have always had a child-free stance, but had 3 favorite names growing up. My best friend used all 3 between us 2 children. You're absolutely right that you stated you would use the name first and she already had a chance to. You're a terrible person for using the kid being dead already as an argument at all. But especially for saying they won't be loved. Have some damn sympathy. Yeah, she's trying to steal the name you have every right to use, but still deserves more tact than that as you fight your point. Not the asshole. Wow, are people not reading the post properly or what? Op isn't asking her half-sister not to use the name. The half-sister is demanding Op doesn't use the name. What on earth is wrong with Reddit lately? Though Op, you were out of line with what you said. I honestly don't blame you and would have lost the rag with her too. My sister was very similar to yours and we had different dads, not different mums. I'd suggest going NC or LC. Believe me, it's better off in the long run. You went right for the jugular, didn't you? While I agree she's being unreasonable. People in mourning tend to be overwhelmed by emotion. You could have just hung up. Name your child whatever you want to, but what you said to her was cruel. You absolutely did not need to stay on the phone and fight with them. You should be the one here with a clearer head. I can't even say ESH because you telling a crying mother that she's wasting naming a baby she's burying. It's far more worse than her using the name. You are the asshole. Not the asshole. Don't give in. Use the name. And let your sister know, if she proceeds, her pain and suffering on anything related to your use of the name is on her and you will not ever accept responsibility for her choice in this matter. Anyone that tries to advocate for her self-inflicted extra pain and suffering will be met with a vociferous rebuttal and removal from your life. Her choice is before her. She will decide her future in this matter. You will be proceeding as planned. It doesn't seem like you're taking in Dee Dee's perspective. She's lost her child in a horrific way and is grief-stricken. I know you're not close to her, but it wouldn't hurt put your feelings on this name aside for a second and support her. Also, telling her the name would be wasted is an asshole move. I get that it was an emotional reaction, but that takes it to a whole new level. Why can't you both share the name? Or the name could be the middle name for her child and your child's first name. Either way, what you said was totally uncalled for. You should apologize. You are the asshole. Not the asshole. You both can name the baby the same name. No big deal. Why do people make an issue about this? Not the asshole. You are an asshole for engaging, and honestly if you keep engaging you'll ruin the name for yourself. Just ignore the calls, name your child with love for your grandmother and let people back in slowly. Not the asshole. So your sister knew for years that you want to use this name for your daughter and suddenly she wants to name her daughter the same name. Stick with your guns. Your birth is in a few weeks and your baby already have this name for you and your partner. I'm currently pregnant myself and my husband, and I speak with our baby using the name we picked for weeks. I can't imagine someone will tell me I cannot use it anymore because of XY. Not the asshole. Name the baby after your granny. She has a daughter already. If she wanted it that badly, wouldn't she have named her daughter that first? Not the asshole. If she decided to name her daughter the same name that you name her daughter, that is on her. Just tell your family that Dee Dee can name her deceased daughter anything she wants, and you will name your daughter what you want, and that is the last you will hear about it. Ultimately, you can't force her to name her daughter something different, but at the same time she can't force you to name your daughter something different either. Not the asshole. Name her whatever you want. Ignore your family. Not the asshole. I don't understand why both of you can't use the same name. And no offense, but it's not like there'll be two kids around each other with the same name, which would be a bit awkward. Not the asshole. And yes, you were awful in what you said, but not only she announced her pregnancy at your wedding, she could have used the name in her previous daughter and she actively decided not to do it. Instead, she's an attention-seeker narcissist. She decided that she needs to use the name months after you're announced that would be your daughter's, with whom you're pregnant, name. To me is clear that this just another play to seek attention and present herself as a victim. Don't misunderstand me. What she's going through is awful, but that doesn't mean she should be free to ruin other people's life experiences because everything has to be about her all the time. Edit. Published by mistake. Missing part of the comment. Not the asshole. You keep your name. Not the asshole. Not at all. You had a plan and clearly have stuck with it. She had a chance already with her first daughter but didn't. Don't back down and give up what you want. If you need to go low contact with your family, then so be it for your own mental health, especially while pregnant. Good luck and congrats. Not the asshole. The woman is being manipulative and I'm surprised at how many people in the comments got duped. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You have told her and decided it years ago. Needed to check again. How old are you after? You're going to waste the name. Comment. While I think that you should keep the name, this comment was unnecessary. I would go no contact with you after this. Esh. Not the asshole. NTA, you can both use the name. My great-something grandma had 14 kids and 2 of the girls had the same name and 3 of them had the same middle name. They're cousins. Named after their grandma. Both things are sweet. Not the asshole. Just both use the name. NTA, if your sister wanted to name her daughter after your granny, she would have done so with her other daughter. Not the asshole. Just use your name. I mean, turn the tables. They knew you were using that name, so it is them choosing the same name, not the other way around. All bad or hurt from it will be their choice. But by the way, did you only mention years ago this name or also through your pregnancy? Because it's not like people would actually remember that you said a few years back which name you would use for a hypothetical child. She had her opportunity to use the name the first time round and didn't. You have brought stuff in that name, since it was up for grabs for you to use. She can associate her fetus with a different name. She already knew you had chosen the name for your child. Would they have been cousins with the same name, if the fetus had survived? Unlikely. Not the asshole. Do not change the name. Tell Dee Dee that if she uses the same name, that's on her. You are the asshole. Did you honestly tell your sister she would be wasting the name on her baby that died in utero? That's insensitive as hell. Have some tact and common decency, as this just happened within the week. Your sister shouldn't be choosing a name that you already told her you were choosing, I guess. So she's kinda the asshole, but I'm guessing she's pretty messed up from losing her baby 7 days ago. Also, why can't you both have a kid with the same name? Nah, I think. Only because she's grieving and not being rational, in my opinion. Honestly, it sounds like she's trying to take the name out of spite because her loss will upstaged by the birth of your child in a couple of weeks. I don't think this is truly malicious or even logical. She is just hurting. No one owns a prospective name, and it's not a resource that is removed if another has it. I'd share that she is welcome to name her child the same name, but she needs to understand that the name you've chosen will remain for your baby. You aren't changing it even if she chooses to use the name. You are the asshole. You told your sister that the name would be wasted on a dead baby. OMG. What difference does it make to you if it's on a headstone? You are horrible. Not the asshole. 1. You had already chosen the name and she knew that. 2. She already has a daughter that she didn't name after your grandma. She had her chance to use the name but didn't take it. Which means this is about taking the name from you. 3. She does not always get her way just because she calls mommy and daddy to help her. Stick with your plan. She may not even have more children, nobody knows, but what we do know is that she constantly tries to one-up you and have your parents drill into your head that her needs for some reason should always trump yours. Ordinarily yes, but based on what you have said about your half-sister, no. Although the dead baby comment wasn't your finest hour. Actually, it was really unnecessary and you should apologize. Dad, this is not up for negotiation. X is the name of our daughter. Half-sister can name her baby anything she wants. However, I will not be held responsible if she is reminded of her baby and gets upset every time she sees my daughter. She will have done it to herself. You have all known for years what I want to call my child. It is not, and never, has been a secret. I will not be changing anything. The only thing still to be decided is whether or not you and stepmom are part of my daughter's life. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, just so sad that your sister lost her baby. You are entirely correct, she could have used the name with her older daughter. It is not unusual for cousins to have the same name. This is not about your sister. This is about you and your husband and your baby. I told her Didi would be wasting the name. The namesake will not be getting carried on and loved. This is so cold it made me gasp and tear up. You are the asshole for this. I don't see why you can't both use the name. Esh. You don't own the name, and neither does she. Let her know that she can name her dead baby what she wants, as long as she knows what name your child will have. She'll have to decide if sharing the name is something she can live with. I get that you've got some bad history with her, but keep in mind that her baby is dead. Nobody's going to be the most tactful or considerate versions of themselves in that scenario. NTA at all. You pick the name first. I don't think you're the asshole for not changing the name. You already had it picked out. You are the asshole for what you said about wasting the name because your child is living and hers isn't. That's a disgusting comment to a grieving grandmother. Essentially saying, well, the baby is dead anyway and mine isn't. She doesn't need this name. I agree that she already has a daughter and could have used a family name if she wanted to. It's shitty she announced a pregnancy at your wedding. But you not only crossed a line, you hurdled over it and kept running. You are the asshole. Not for taking the name. I agree that you should use it for your child. You are the asshole because you said to a grieving mother that the name would be wasted. That's a horrible, cruel thing to say to someone that just lost their child.